Welcome to the second part of the light series, my dear students. Previous video we have read about light and its basic properties. Now in this video we are going to learn about the mirrors, how reflection of light occurs with the help of mirrors, what are the various types of mirrors and how they are applicable to our day-to-day activities. So without any further delay, let's soar the sky together. What is a mirror? Mirror is a smooth surface. It can be any smooth surface on which regular reflection takes place. Now, what is regular reflection? If you want to know, you can just go to the first part of this series. The link is given in the description box below, and there you will be able to learn about regular and other types of reflection and how they take place. What are the various types of mirrors? The first type is plane mirror. Now the definition of a plane mirror is any mirror that has a flat and reflecting surface. The surface has to be flat and plane. That's why the name comes from here, plane mirror. Its surface is very smooth. The second point to be taken care of is the surface is very smooth and extremely polished for a very high level of reflection, clear reflection, and there is no inward or outward curve. Means the surface is absolutely flat without any inward or outward curve on it. So what are the examples of plane mirror? The first example that's very easy to see, the household mirrors, the mirror that is used in your bedroom, the mirror that is there in your bathroom, or the other mirrors that you see inside your house are plane mirrors. They have an extremely flat surface. Also the mirrors used in periscope. What are periscope? Periscopes look like somewhat this. These are used when somebody is below the sea and want to look upwards, what is there on the surface. We'll come into the details, working and uses of periscope later. There also two plane mirrors are used, one at each of their angle, and with the help of the reflection of those plane mirrors, the person is being able to see from here. So the details will come later, and now we'll move to the next part or the next type of mirrors. The second type of the types of mirror is spherical mirror. What is a spherical mirror? This is the definition of the spherical mirror. A mirror that looks like it's a part of a sphere, a round thing, and has either an inward curve or an outward curve on its surface. Is called a spherical mirror. Now let me explain this to you in a detailed manner. Unlike the plane mirror, which has a flat and a plane surface, the spherical mirror is a bit bulging. Either it's bulging outwards or it's bulging inwards, no matter in which way you're looking it from. And it also looks like it's a part of an entire sphere. Okay, so the two key points over here is looks like it's a part of a sphere and either has an inward curve or an outward curve on its surface. Okay, so what are the examples? We know about these two mirrors, that is concave mirror and convex mirror in details, how are they used in our day-to-day lives, etc. The characteristics of the images formed by a plane mirror are the images are virtual in nature. Now what are virtual and real images? If you want to know, again it's being explained in the first part of this series. So the second part is they are erect and upright. They're straight. They're not inverted. They're straight and upright. The third point they are left, right, reversed. That means when we see the images, the left part seems to be the right part and the right part seems to be the left part. This is called lateral inversion. So they are laterally inverted. What is lateral inversion? We'll come to it later on. The fourth part is the distance between the image and the plane mirror. This is a very important thing. Is always equal to the distance between the object and the plane mirror. Say for example, this is the object and here we have a plane mirror. The distance between the object and the plane mirror will be equal to the image that is forming here and the plane mirror. So the distance between both of them are equal. The fifth and the last point of the characteristics is the size of the image which is formed is always equal to the size of the object that is kept in front of the mirror. The size of both of them will be absolutely equal. Now you can see the diagram here and you can clearly understand what are the various characteristics that has been shown in the diagram. While explaining you the characteristics of the images formed by plane mirror, I came across a term called lateral inversion, and I also told you that I'll explain this to you in details later. So here comes lateral inversion. What is lateral inversion? This is the definition, and of course right now you know the drill. The phenomenon of left side appearing as right side and the right side appearing as left side after reflection in a plane mirror is called lateral inversion. This phenomenon is mostly seen on plane mirror. So what are the key words over here? Phenomenon of left side appearing as right side and right side appearing as left side after reflection is called lateral inversion. Example, when we stand in front of any plane mirror, our right hand appears to be the left hand and left hand appears to be the right hand. So this is the example and this is the definition of lateral inversion. So far, if you have liked this video, the second part of the like series, go ahead and make the like button blue. As we already know the definition of a spherical mirror and what it is, now we are going to learn the parts of spherical mirror that are required for reflection of light. What are the parts? Let's go through them first. Center of curvature, radius of curvature, pole, principal axis, principal focus or focal length, focus and aperture. Now I will explain and give the definitions of each of them, but let's look at the diagram. So as we already know, spherical mirror is basically a part of an imaginary sphere. It looks as if it's a part of an entire sphere. So if this is how a spherical mirror looks, and if we just continue the dotted lines, we can see a complete circle or sphere is forming, hence the name spherical mirror. What are the parts? Here there is an imaginary line which we draw as reference that passes through the center of the sphere. It's called the principal axis. This is also the diameter of the entire sphere. You can take it that way. So this is the principal axis. The point where principal axis is meeting with the spherical mirror, that point is called pole, denoted by the letter P. Next, the center of the circle. It will also fall at one particular point on the principal axis itself, that is C. It is the center called the center of curvature because it's a curved mirror. So C is the center of curvature, which is the center of the whole sphere. Then the distance between P and C is nothing but the radius of the sphere. So this we call as radius of curvature and it is denoted as R. The rest of the parts are focus and focal length. Focus is just at the center of pole and the center of curvature. It's exactly in between pole and center of curvature, denoted by the small f. F is focus, and the distance between the pole and the focus, this distance is called focal length. It's denoted by PF over here. Focal length, as we can see in the diagram, will always be half of the radius of curvature. Keep this in mind. You can also see this diagram. This is R, or radius of curvature, PC. The exact half of that figure is PF, which is focal length. Aperture is nothing but the part that is cut, the real part of the mirror. This is the aperture. Through here light can enter. The part through which light can enter inside the mirror is called an aperture. Here are the definitions of the terminologies that we have already seen associated with the spherical mirror. The first point that we have learned about is center of curvature. The definition of the center of curvature states that the center of curvature is the center of that imaginary sphere of which the spherical mirror is a part. When I was explaining you the spherical mirror, I already draw a diagram from where you can clearly see that the spherical mirror is nothing but as if a hollow sphere which has been cut out, a part of the sphere which has been cut out from an entire sphere. So the center of curvature is the center of that imaginary sphere of which the spherical mirror is a part. Next term related to the spherical mirror is radius of curvature. As compared to the center of curvature, the radius of curvature also has a similar definition that states the radius of curvature is the radius of that same imaginary sphere of which the spherical mirror is a part. Radius of curvature is denoted by capital R, whereas center of curvature is always denoted by capital C. So here the radius of that imaginary sphere of which the spherical mirror is a part of. So the next point is pole. What is a pole? The point where the principal axis intersects or cuts the mirror is called the pole. Pole is basically, if this is a mirror and the principal axis is passing through the mirror, the point where the mirror is cutting the principal axis, or vice versa, the principal axis is cutting the mirror, that point is called the pole. The next point that arises is very necessarily principal axis. What is it? Principal axis is nothing but an imaginary line which is passing through the center of the surface of the spherical mirror and through the center of curvature of all the segments of mirror. That is called the principal axis. So, the principal axis is that imaginary line passing through the center of curvature and through the entire center segment of the mirror. Focus. What is focus? Focus is the point on principal axis on which incident rays of light after reflection converge or appear to diverge when extended virtually. It is located exactly between C, that is center of curvature, and pole. So, what do we understand by this particular definition of focus? Focus is that point where when the real images are forming after reflection, we can see they are converging at one particular point, and that point is focus. This converging of the incident rays occurs when the light rays fall on the mirror, and after reflection they just come back and passes through this point which is called focus. In case of virtual images, they don't converge. But if the diverged rays are extended backwards, we can see that that particular point has helped the rays to diverge further. And at the back of the mirror where the virtual image forms, if we just extend those rays, we can see how they have diverged through the focus. So this is what focus is. Next point is focal length. So what is focal length? Focal length is the distance between center of curvature and focus. So we have already seen, this is the diagram of the mirror where we can see that this is center of curvature and this is focus. So in between center of curvature and the focus point, that particular distance we call it as focal length. Now focal length will always be half of radius of curvature. We have studied about radius of curvature. We know that the distance between the center of curvature and the pole, that is radius of the mirror, is what we call as radius of curvature. If we half it, if we just divide it by 2, we will get the focus. So this is basically a formula for both the radius of curvature and focus. You can say this is the relationship between the radius of curvature and focus. If any one of the value is given, you can find out the other. So these all are the definitions and you already know the drill by now. The next topic is the various types of spherical mirrors. We have already known the names of those types. First one is concave. Here is the schematic diagram, and second one is convex, and here is also the schematic diagram of it. Now what do we see in these two diagrams? If you can see, both are cut out hollow spheres. As we know, spherical mirror cut out hollow sphere from an imaginary sphere. So here, what is the basic difference between both the mirrors? The concave mirror has this inner surface as the reflecting surface. Reflection takes place on this inner surface. Concave means inner surface, which is hollowed out or curved out just like a you can say a bowl or a spoon. But if we look at the convex mirror, the reflecting surface is exactly the opposite. This is the outer surface which acts as the reflecting surface for convex mirror. As we know, the word convex means the outer surface. And here the inner surface is silvered as compared to the concave mirror, whose outer surface is silvered for reflection to take place flawlessly. There are various uses for both these mirrors. We will come into details for those uses. The next thing that we are going to do is see the definitions of these two mirrors. Alright, so this is the diagram, schematic diagram, and here you can also see the picture that I have attached for these two particular mirrors, and you can clearly get an idea how they look like and how the reflection of light takes place in these two mirrors. Here comes the definition of a concave mirror. So a concave mirror is that spherical mirror whose concave, that is inner surface, acts as a reflecting surface while the outer surface is silvered for reflection to take place. The image that is formed due to the reflection that is held on the surface of the concave mirror is inverted. It can also be smaller, the same size, or magnified depending upon the distance of the mirror from the object. So depending upon where we place the mirror from the object, we get to see what type of image is getting formed due to the reflection. It can be of the same size, it can be smaller, it can be magnified. All the three forms can be seen just depending upon where the mirror is placed. But another very important thing which you can keep in mind while studying about this concave mirror is concave mirror produces an illusion. What kind of illusion? Illusion of largeness, of magnification, of something getting bigger. So concave mirror is also used accordingly to this property of it. The next definition is of the second type of spherical mirror, which is convex mirror. A convex mirror is that spherical mirror whose convex, that is outer surface, acts as the reflecting surface and the inner surface is silver for reflection to take place. The image is always erect and virtual. The size will be smaller. Now, here, the convex mirror's definition that is being stated over here, we can see that the image which is formed is always erect and virtual. That means incident ray after reflecting on convex mirror, they diverge, and whenever they are produced at the back of the mirror, they will always form a virtual image, as compared to the concave mirror, through which when the light reflects, it can form both a real image and a virtual image. But in case of convex mirror, the image will always be virtual and erect. Alright, so as we have already studied that the concave mirror produces an illusion of largeness, in the same way the convex mirror will always give us a wide angle view. It will give, as the rays always gets diverged, so the image that we are being able to see through a reflection caused due to a convex mirror is always a wide angle view of everything. It diverges the images so that we get to see a wider angle of it. So how do we use these two kinds of mirror? First is the concave mirror. What are the uses of concave mirror? Concave mirrors are used as torch in the searchlights, headlights, telescopes, microscopes. It is used as reflectors in all these lights. Okay. The second main use is it is also used as dentist's head mirror. If you ever visit to a dentist, you'll see that the dentist had a mirror attached to his head which catches the reflection of the condition of the teeth or gums inside our mouth, and there is another mirror where that reflection is again re-reflected, so the dentist can actually see the condition of our mouth, because inside our mouth it's very difficult for the dentist to understand what are the problems that has arisen. So for that case, in order to magnify, as I told you, concave mirror creates an illusion of largeness. So he or she uses a concave mirror attached on their head, which will reflect and give an illusion of a large mouth, hence showing the problem areas in a magnified way so that the dentist can treat our problems. Now comes to the uses of convex mirror. The first use is it is used as reflectors in street lamps, as concave mirrors are diverging in nature and convex mirror are diverging in nature. They are diverging in nature and they are converging in nature. So concave mirrors are converging in nature and convex mirror are diverging in nature. So the second point is they are used as rear view mirrors and side view mirrors. In cars we have both the rear view mirrors, which are located at the center of the front part of the car, and in the two-wheelers we have the side view mirrors. So both are used, both uses convex mirror for their convenience, because convex mirror, as we have read, they're diverging in nature. They give us a wide angle view of the entire situation that is at our back. So while driving or while riding a bike, we can see whether there is a vehicle coming from the back or not. So this convex mirror gives a wide angle view of that. Hence, these are the uses. You can take down a note of it. So far, if this video has been useful to you, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you'll always get notified in time. Please share this video to all your friends so that they also get benefited from this. And if you have any queries, any doubts related to the topics that has been taught, please go to the comment section and ask the problems. I will get back to you. What are the differences between concave mirror and convex mirror? There are several points of differences because they are exactly the opposite of each other. The first point of difference is concave mirrors are those spherical mirrors whose inner side is reflecting. They are called concave mirror. This is the definition. The convex mirror are spherical mirrors whose outer side is reflecting are called convex mirror. So the important point to be taken care of is inner side is reflecting and outer side is reflecting. The first point of difference. What's the second point of difference? The focus and the center of curvature lie in front of the mirror. So when I have drawn the diagram for all the parts of the spherical mirror, I explained to you what a focus and what a center of curvature is. So in case of concave mirror, both the focus and the center of curvature will lie in front of the mirror. So the important part is focus and center of curvature lying in front of the mirror. And similarly, in convex mirror, they will lie at the back of the mirror because they always form a virtual image. So we will have them at the back of the mirror. The third point is it is also called converging mirror. We also know this as light rays converge or meet at focus after reflection. So concave mirror is also called converging mirror. Light rays converge or meet at focus after the reflection occurs. So here the point of difference is it is called diverging mirror as it diverges the rays as light rays always appear to diverge after reflection virtually at the focus at the back of the mirror. When we produce the rays diverge backwards, they feel like at the back of the mirror where we have the focus point, they feel like they have diverged from there. The next point of difference is the image. The image formed by a concave mirror can be both real and virtual depending upon the distance between the object and the placement of mirror. While the image formed by a convex mirror is always virtual and erect in nature because they don't form a real image. The fifth point or the last point here is it is used as reflectors in headlights, projectors, etc. Whereas the convex mirror is used for wide angle view in side and rear view mirrors in various vehicles. All these we have already learned. It's used as a reflector, used for wide view as it's a diverging in nature, and they are used as reflectors because they are converging in nature. This is always virtual and erect. It can be both real and virtual depending upon the distance between the object and the mirror. I've marked all the key points and these are important. Here we come to the end of it. Again, there will be a third part of this light series of which I'll give in the description box below. So after this video ends, you can go to the third video and there we'll finish our light chapter and then we'll come to the question answers and what are the important things that you have to keep in mind as the summary of the entire light. Thank you.